Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sherwood Shakeup. I am your host, Matt Weinglass, and we have a great episode planned for you today. We're going to talk about politics in Hollywood. Apologies for the late start. We had a little technical difficulty to start. Has any of you guys out there ever done a live podcast, live show on YouTube? You know, we run into technical issues sometimes, but yeah, we're here to just kind of go with the flow and roll with the punches and yeah, hit it out of the park as soon as we can. And that's what we're doing right now. So our special guest today, Patrick Kilpatrick, he's been on the show with us before. He's got quite a story to tell you guys about his Hollywood career and his political career and how they kind of worked together or came up at the same time and at the same point, and how he's able to manage both of them and where he is right now. And we're going to get to him a little later. We're also going to be checking in with our co-host, Sherwood correspondent for the Shakeup, Lizette Santiago, in a little bit. But for now, I just wanted to kind of give some feedback to everyone in the community, anybody who saw last week's episode of the Sherwood Shakeup. We were covering documentary filmmaking. And if you guys hadn't heard or you tuned in, and I know a lot of you have because you've reached out to us in the last week and asked about this. But we were out in DC covering an anti-war rally. It was called Rage Against the War Machine Rally. And the reason we were there was we were starting production on a new documentary that we're making, a feature documentary we're making about the intersection between the media, censorship, big pharma, and the U.S. war machine, and all of those kind of colliding together, especially over the last 3 years. And we have some incredible producing team members that are part of this project, and we all kind of, the timing worked out that that seemed like the best place to jumpstart this film and into production. And while we were there, we were able to connect with so many different influential players in the game, whether they're YouTube podcasters, journalists, politicians, ex-politicians, but people in the game, not necessarily from Hollywood, but definitely in the political landscape. And so as a documentary filmmaker, and those of other documentary filmmakers out there, we like to engage with other influential figures like that. And as we ask questions and try and get answers and, get some really cool interviews. We were able to get some actually really awesome interviews last week. And we played a little bit on the show, and we discussed the film that we're taking on. And we discussed the attack plan that people, documentary filmmakers, and the ways you can go about all of that. And, the thing is, we ran into some controversy about it. We've had some dialogue with some people out there, some people in our community even, that want to know, well, why are we going this far? Why are we engaging with these type of people? If it might harm our careers, or, people that are, I know they're looking out for us or looking out for Sherwood as a community and saying, oh, you want to just be careful how far you go. And you know what I say back to that? I go, I appreciate, I appreciate that adage, and I understand, you're looking out, but at the same time, what we're doing is we're just telling stories, and we're telling stories from different points of views. We have to be against censorship as artists. It's just something we have to stand for, and you can call that political. I certainly don't. It's not taking a political stance. It's not expressing a particular ideology. It's just having a particular set of principles. And as artists, our principles are to allow the space for different people to tell their stories. So with that said, this is I'm gonna play this clip, you guys, because last week we did play the stuff that we covered. We were there, and we saw the incredible gathering of all sorts of people, all sorts of anti-war voices, people on the left, people on the right. There were all sorts of voices there, and people that all shared the same fundamental belief of peace, not war. And that's what we experience. Unfortunately, when I got back and we turned on the mainstream to see what was actually being reported, unfortunately, we saw something a little different as far as what was actually being reported. And we're going to show you right now what they said about this event, and then we'll talk about it after that. But this is the actual coverage that happened on MSNBC regarding our peace protest that we covered as filmmakers, documentary filmmakers, last weekend on February 19th. This is the coverage of that rally from MSNBC.
As the president and vice president affirmed the United States' commitment to Ukraine's freedom and to the NATO alliance, the pro-Putin faction in America held a weekend rally, complete with pro-Russia demagoguing. The Rage Against the War Machine rally went about how you'd expect. Russian flag and all.
And I mean truly random rally on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. A rally in support of Russia, I guess, given all the Russian flags. At least a rally against the U.S. supporting Ukraine in trying to stand up against the Russian invasion of their country. This was a tiny event. It was small. It was a weird assemblage of Americans. There were Proud Boys there. There were some of the white supremacist groups you'd recognize from the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville a few years ago. Also represented prominently the remains of the bizarre Lyndon LaRouche cult. There were a lot of people with Russian flags, also the occasional flag of the former Soviet Union. Also, at least one person who guest hosts for Tucker Carlson on the Fox News Channel was there as a featured speaker. There were anti-vaccine conspiracy theorists, a lot of them. There were cryptocurrency promoters. It was a really weird group. It was a small rally and a weird one. But that's what it looks like. That's the assemblage of short straws and split ends and loose change and loose electrons that's advocating in this country that Russia's in the right in this war and America should be on Putin's side as he keeps invading other countries. I mean, no disrespect to the Americans who turned out as part of this small event this weekend, but it's not like they represent a big constituency that is arguing for this pro-Russia point of view.
Wow. So that's what they called it. And those are just flat out lies. That's not what we call journalism. And I actually wish I had stumbled on that last week, because we talked about this, and we need to know the difference between storytelling and journalism when we're making documentaries. And I'm not saying that, you know, these MSNBC hosts, Rachel Maddow, Joy Ann Reid, that they are, you know, supposed to follow the guidelines of filmmaking or storytelling. But I will say this, as journalists, they failed us tremendously, because journalism is about, actually, if you're going to cover an event, you go out there, you get a reporter on the ground, and you actually cover it. And the way you cover it is you interview people and you ask them why they're there, and they'll tell you. And you try to get a full picture of what's actually happening. You don't do a smear piece and mock the people that went out there. That's what we saw. So again, it's like, we're not going to be able to change what they do and that they get paid to do. But we need to be able to recognize that something's wrong with that. And as storytellers and artists, we can actually do something about it by doing what's right ourselves and being able to tell accurate stories and stories of the human condition, and what we do every day when we try to put our projects together. And you know, as writers, even, you know, how do you get that story across? How do you get your audience to emote? You come from a real place, a genuine place. And that's what we're about here. So right now, let's go ahead and bring in our foreign correspondent, Lizette Santiago. She will come in, and we're going to discuss this further. And I want to talk to her about our experience a little more, and then her experience as well, as we move forward in Hollywood, in our careers, with politics kind of hanging around in the background. Lizette Santiago, welcome back to the show.
Hi, I'm Matt.
Hey.
And what a great,
yeah,
I don't know what city I'm in. I think it's Chicago.
Oh, wow. Look at you. Look at you.
Just a world traveler.
You are a world traveler. I love it. I love the Chicago backdrop for you. And you know what? Here's the thing. I love you coming in with me right now, because I was finding myself getting a little heated just now on my own. And I really need you here to help balance me out and remind me that, hey, we're having fun, and yes, you know, we can get worked up about stuff, but hey, remember, let's keep cool and hey, let's
Yes.
joke about stuff too, because it's, we don't always,
Yeah, it's like, I mean, politics is politics. It's around. It's something, that's there. We have to, do it, deal with it, accept it, and work things out. But why can't we just make light of situations too? It's just another part of things too in our life. We all have our own political parties, and that's okay. We're not always going to agree on things. Even when you get into an argument with friends and family, that term "agree to disagree," that's going to
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
I wish nobody would be so, violent or just accuse people and just be so bitter about things. Just everyone's got their own opinion and you're entitled to that. So that's the way it just should be, for everybody. But yeah, Hollywood, huh? We had some good stuff happening too this over the weekend, Sunday, with the SAG Awards and our first, what is it, a Best Asian Actress winner.
Ah, yes.
So that's amazing. It's just, and I just love, and we'll get into that later too, Matt. But I just love how it's not, for me personally, I feel like it shouldn't be about the color or the ethnicity of an actor. It should be how good an actor is and if they're well deserving of that award. And I'm proud of her because I think she was. She's a fantastic actress and all kudos to her. But there was a lot of stuff going on in SAG too for politics. So again, we'll get into that later. In the meantime, I have a special guest on the phone, Matt.
Oh, you do?
Yes. Do you know who it may be?
Could it possibly be our special guest for the show today?
Yes.
Would it happen to be
Patrick,
our accomplished actor, producer, author, and speaker? He's returning to the show today, but so people know, he's appeared in films such as Minority Report and The Eraser, and he's got a new film, Dying for Living, which he wrote, produced, and directed himself and stars in, and that's coming out this summer. Mm-hmm. He also ran for the governor recall election against Gavin Newsom this last year, and that's why I'm actually so excited. So exactly, Lizette, thanks for getting him on the phone, and let's welcome him to the Sherwood Shakeup.
Yay!
Patrick.
You're on, Patrick. Welcome to the show.
Hi, I just want to test the audio. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great, Patrick.
Perfectly, Patrick.
Perfect. As a Leo actor, I'm disappointed I can't look at my image via StreamYard. I guess we have to do it by phone. That's fine. Hi, how are you all? How gutsy and wonderful you are to even talk about politics in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, we are. Yeah, I guess you can say we're a little gutsy to do this, but that's
Matt, and I admire you a great deal.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and I'm so happy you agreed to come on today, because it was like I was actually thinking about you this last week after we had gone out to DC and we did this thing, and we're working on this new documentary, and I was like thinking, who in our pipeline is dealing with these type of these are things we have to think about when we put ourselves out there. And I was like, I thought of you. I was like, Patrick has been doing this. This is what you did last year when you said, I'm running for governor, I'm challenging Gavin Newsom. How does that happen? How do you get to that point? I want to know, because we know you've had a very successful Hollywood career, and we're going to get into your new project soon. But first, I just wanted to ask you, how did that idea first come up for you as a successful actor, producer, writer? You said, I'm doing this. How did you get to that point?
Well, I've always been an acute observer of geopolitics and statecraft and those kind of things. So I had observed that, and like most Californians, I've observed how our state has changed. Often, even though it's still a wonderful place to live, in a lot of ways, not for the positive. Since I run a film company and I've got an active career as a screenwriter and an actor, I had dabbled with running for the House of Representatives several years ago when Waxman retired in my district. But I know that those campaigns take a long period of time. And if there's one thing I learned was, in order to do those things successfully, you really have to set aside other things. And since I have these active films and other things that I'm doing, it appealed to me on the recall election, primarily to throw myself into the sort of realm of ideas because it was a short campaign. It was only going to be about 2 months or so. And so that was something I felt like I could handle without setting aside 2 years of my children, which is how I view our film projects at Uncommon Dialogue Films. So I thought I also knew from dabbling with the run for House of Representatives that an interesting thing happens if you are an actor with any kind of success and you declare that you're running for office, that media comes out of the woodwork to talk to you. So it's not why I did it centrally, but I knew that would perhaps bolster our fundraising efforts for the film. It would certainly get me into a wider realm of people familiar with me and my views. And at the same time, it was kind of a wild card, unique situation because Gavin Newsom was very unpopular and I think still is. So you didn't know what was going to happen. It was possible you could actually win, although I didn't have any illusions of winning the governorship. It was initially an election that Democrats really weren't interested in. They only became interested when the prospect of a Larry Elder, who is like the Antichrist to Democrats, would perhaps win. And so they then came out and voted a lot. But for me, honestly, it was 150% success operation. It was short and sweet. I used my film company, Brain Trust, and we didn't spend a lot of money for the cost of filing and the cost of doing the candidate statement. We were able to talk to 44 million people, get my picture and our platform. The most shocking thing was that nobody else put a platform together. Mm-hmm. And we put one together in about 2 weeks with a lot of effort on a lot of different issues, because I really do think the problems in the state can be solved, but the current regime is not going to be solving them. There's a lot of things in play, everything from corruption to making a lot of money from a lot of our problems. And so anybody who's interested can go to kilpatrickforgovernor.com, and our platform is still there. And I think we drew inspiration from both sides of the aisle. It wasn't a partisan thing for us. It was about, much like movie producing, how do we roll up our sleeves and get some things done in an effective manner? And so I think we took things from inspiration from FDR to things that we conjured up on our own. So I got 100,000 votes, and I ranked 7th out of a field of 41. Yeah. And for me to participate rapidly and swiftly in the arena of ideas, it was a really cool thing to do. I would urge anybody to do it, not the least is you get around the state and you talk to a lot of people. I was reunited with a lot of friends in the effort, you included. So it was a very positive situation, and I think people should participate in the political process.
Very good. Excellent story, Patrick. Now, I obviously, like, with the good comes the bad. So you're gonna have, with all the positive feedback, you're gonna have some negative as well. How do you build up the tough skin for that? I'm sure there were people coming at you saying, "Hey, don't do this, Patrick. You're gonna jeopardize your Hollywood career." Or what did you say back to that, or how did you respond?
Well, it's interesting, insightful that you bring that up. I mean, we literally had major Democrats send myself and my attorney threats that if I ever ran as a Democrat, which I did, even though I'm registered as an independent now, that if I ever ran, if I ran in this, then I would never hold public office in California ever in my lifetime. So we just laughed, and we actually made that part of our advertising. So I wasn't frightened by that. Now, as far as the negative aspects on your career, Matt, if they take retribution against you, they don't call you up and say, hey, I'm not going to let you be a lead in a television series because you ran a recall election. So that any negative thing is perhaps even hidden. It's hard to measure. I don't really let the possibility of negative enter into my decision-making process. I just felt it was the right thing to do to go after it. Now, for me, it's positive. One of the things I would say to your audience is if you take a stance in something, the way that the country and perhaps the state is divided up almost equally, you're going to get a lot of supporters along with any negative. Any negative energy that you're going to get. I mean, we've gotten a lot of film funding, and we've gotten a lot of film funding, a lot of support from people who believe as we do. So by stepping outward, you have great forces that will align with you as much as any negative that comes at you. So, that's another reason. There's a lot to be said for speaking whatever your truth is. That said, look, I have opinions about 20 or 30 things a day. I don't need to foist my opinions on the world. I mean, you have to very judiciously, I think, choose hills that you might die on. And I don't think you have to die on any of them. But, the truth is most people, if you give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves. So when people go off the rails politically, you might want to comment on it, whether from Twitter or something. But I'm not a political pundit. I'm a screenwriter and an actor and a guy who runs a small film shop. And that's my central concern. And particularly as you get a little older, it's sort of like the energy that you should have if you're any kind of leader. You're not going to get involved in every single fight that's going on. If I had a column that I was responsible for, sure, maybe I would do that. But I mean, I think it's almost cool to observe the ebb and flow of politics. I certainly never, ever in 35 years have carried politics into a professional set or a professional environment as an actor or a screenwriter or whatever. Yeah, I just haven't done that. It doesn't impact my screenwriting either, because I think largely you're involved in entertainment. You're not involved in political instruction. Now, look, there are things I've taken a stand on. I turned down work with the Communist Chinese Party years ago. And I think as Americans, we need to make those decisions. That's to me. But mostly things, other people can argue that out. If you're asked what your opinion is, give it. I just think trying to have as much empathy for people is as important as giving voice to your opinions.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Well said. Appreciate your courage, Patrick, and also your peace of mind. I like the calm about you, because we do tend to get it can kind of stress us out when we put ourselves out there in the lion's den, as they say, and speak up, speak our mind, do things out of principle, do things that we believe in. But you have to keep that kind of that calm. So I really admire that about you. You keep that calm throughout the whole process.
And I love how you don't, like you said, you don't take it to set. You kind of leave it outside of the set. That's a different thing. And you're right.
If I'm going someplace to be an actor, I'm so busy manifesting whatever it is I'm trying to do as an actor. One of the regrets I have is I didn't take more skilled photography throughout my career while I was on the set, much like Dennis Hopper might have done. But the reason I didn't do that was that energy took me away from the performance of the acting role.
Yep.
And I never wanted anything like that to take over. Certainly conversations like that. Political discussions are very charged for a lot of people. I can have a discussion with anybody about anything, and even if they have a different point of view, it's okay. That's me. Other people get completely crazed about it. Even in my relationship with my wife, she just thinks of pox on all their houses. So if you talk to her about left or right, she just doesn't want to hear it. So I don't talk to my wife about that. You know, you just, here's the other thing. If you're going to do it, you need to speak intelligently about it rather than having it be filled with vitriol.
Right.
And I think that's really important. If you do it with vocabulary and you do it with some wit and some perhaps hyperbole, and I'm talking sort of somewhat as a writer now, then or asking questions. You can ask telling questions that point up the hypocrisy of somebody else's position. I mean, I have for example, the people who are lambasting America a lot about civil rights and things like that. I think that's an important issue. But you notice that they never talk about China doing that. And why? Because I'm thinking of the NBA now. The NBA makes so much money selling sneakers and tickets to China that they don't criticize what is one of the largest abuses of human rights on earth. So that kind of hypocrisy occasionally I'll call attention to, and that kind of thing. But again, I pick and choose it. I think as you get older, you pick and choose the kind of things that you really want to do. Americans should be, this is, if I have a disappointment about American culture, it is that we don't seem to be able to come to compromise, sensible compromise. Like, let's take the abortion issue. To me, yes, I understand it's a very passionate issue on both sides. So what's wrong with saying, okay, you get to choose to have an abortion in the first trimester, 2 trimesters, but you can't have an abortion in the 3rd trimester, and then be done with it. Why can we not arrive at solution methodology? Again, this harkens back to the governor race. I try to operate from solution methodology. How do we arrive at a solution so we can actually move on to something else?
Absolutely.
We don't seem to be able to do that very well in this country. People take polarized, extreme positions. Back to abortion. I mean, to me, in my mind, it's insane that the Republican or the right view is you can't have an abortion if you're a victim of incest and rape. To me, that's insanity.
That's insanity.
By the same token, the New York position law, where a child that's born alive can be aborted, can be actually murdered, to me, that's insanity. So that's 2 extremes that are really, we should not be functioning from, in my opinion. So let us come to some sort of compromise that allows us to move on to another issue.
And I love that you're saying that, Patrick, because it's so true. You're right. Why does it have to be one way or the other? I love that idea, because the problem with abortion is that, you know, people don't want you to kill a baby when it's not a fetus anymore. It's, you know, it's a fetus, but it's, you know, growing. And that's the problem. Some people don't, you know, feel that they don't want you to kill the baby, but then you're right. I mean, if it's done in the beginning where it's not going to harm anything, then so be it. But why can't we find that compromise that everybody's happy and on the same page with the solution of it, and not just one side or the other? And that's where the problems and the arguments come in. But if we find the solution, you know,
even happiness on both sides might be setting the bar too high. But just, any contract discussion, you're going to have little elements maybe that you need to compromise on. I don't see a lot of that going on. Okay, I get being a vegan, and I get being somebody who likes eating meat.
Yeah.
But how about we compromise that animals are raised humanely and have wonderful lives prior? So to me, that seems like an amenable situation, and I try to function my life that way.
Yeah, and just like you said,
people are having a choice, and yet, as much as possible, animals are being treated. I mean, this goes back to the governor saying, I'm really proud of something that happened during the governor thing, which is another thing to let your audience know. We actually influenced the government, Gavin Newsom, because he started cherry picking our platform with things that he thought were popular. For example, one of our big points was all the film companies were leaving California and for other climes because of incentives. And California was arrogantly not having much of an incentive program. Well, because of us advocating that, Newsom pledged $330 million in additional incentives to the film company. We said, okay, how about preferential water rights to humane animal food production people, farmers, and sure enough, he took that one and he put in a humane hog production program. So just by running, we had a positive effect on the political landscape. So that's another reason why people should consider running, because you don't even have to win in order to have a positive effect. It can be pretty substantial, significant. Yeah, I think we all need to compromise. I mean, Matt and I have had plenty of disagreements about things, but both of us are people who, you can talk about that, and that's how we learn. We've gotten to a point where some people, they're triggered by debate, and that's crazy. It's just really crazy. Somebody just sent a big long letter signed to the New York Times saying they wanted the removal of, quote unquote, both sides of the issue from discussions about transgender rights. It's like, what? So they're annoyed that a newspaper is giving multiple points of view about an issue.
Right.
There's something crazy about that. That's totalitarianism. So anyway, there you go.
Well, I think it's so admirable, though, too, Patrick, that you ran for governor. I think more actors need to take initiative like that. Like when Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor and Ronald Reagan was president, I think that's so great, because as actors we have a following, we have a voice, we're experienced, we are on set with other people, different mindsets, and I think there needs to be more of that. I think more actors need to get into politics. I mean, would you do it again? Would you run again?
Well, we were looking at the Senate. I mean, the governor's race that's coming up, but again, it means a 2-year commitment. And here's the other thing: I'm involved in film production. I spend a lot of my time raising money, and if you're going to do politics, you're going to be raising a lot of money.
That's true.
And I didn't need another effort in my life where I was raising money. Would I do it again? No, I think would I do it again? It only depends on how bad it gets. The universe decides you're going to be a leader, you'll become a leader. But I really enjoy film production because I really like giving people jobs, good jobs that they can actually support their families, doing creative stuff and telling the tales and the entertainment that we can. I still believe in the power of art and film to affect cultural change and people's behaviors. So, I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time in the history of mankind that we needed great quality of stories more than right now.
Absolutely.
And so never say never, but I'm not anticipating running again for an office. The other thing is, honestly, you do reach a point. I'm 73 and I'm in really good nick, and I've spent a lot of time keeping myself. I'm not so sure I would want to be president of the United States or something with the rigors of that job, even as alert and fit as I think I am. I mean, I think it's crazy that Biden is the president of the United States. I mean, because I clearly don't think he's up for the job.
So this has been a great conversation, guys. I have to apologize for my technical issues earlier, and so it seems like it's one of those days we just have to kind of roll through the punches. And
Patrick, you didn't see that. Matt was in and out.
I was in and out. I was in and out for a second. Lizette held it down, but we've appreciated the entire conversation so far. I just want, for people who are just joining us, we are speaking on the phone right now with Patrick Kilpatrick. He is actor, producer, director, writer, and former candidate for California governor recall election last year. And he's here discussing politics in Hollywood with us. I'm Matt Weinglass. This is with Lizette Santiago. And yes, we are into it right now. And I think that the reason we're having this discussion is because a lot of people out there in the entertainment community aren't really sure what they're allowed to say or not say, or think or not think, and how these things and these ideas in their heads that they would normally want to speak out about, how is that going to negatively affect them? And they tend to maybe, stay quiet and not speak up. But I think that conversations are healthy. This conversation right now is healthy. Why not? Like, we can disagree on things. We don't have to call our neighbor or our fellow thespian our enemy because we disagree on one or two issues. There's things that we have common ground on, which I like to represent in our community. I like to say that we're for platforms for everyone. We're against censorship. That's number one. And I do not consider that a political issue at all. That is just a basic human issue, specifically for artists. I mean, my God, we have to be the forefront of storytelling, allowing platforms for people's voices, different human experiences. That's the industry we're in, and that's why we need to have these conversations. So with that, Patrick, I know you have a new project that is coming out this summer. It's called Dying for Living. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Dying for Living is something. I went to Amsterdam to do a movie, actually in Belgium, and skipped over to Amsterdam for something, and ended up being given the money to shoot a film, and I had to write it, and we're about mid-production. We've got about 8 more days of filming. We had to raise a little bit more money for the finishing funds, and so I'm excited about that. It's very much an action picture. It's got a lot of color, and we've done everything right so far, and I look forward to that coming to market. Everybody's excited about it, including the distributors. I've got a film that I'm starring in called Nessie, which is a sort of a light family comedy, which is not my usual fare, about the Loch Ness Monster. And that's pretty much picture locked and about to come out. And I've just joined Cynthia Rothrock, the great cinematic martial artist champion, is doing a Western called Black Creek, and I've joined the cast of that. And this kind of refers back to, look, politics and things and tastes and regimes and everything in Hollywood are going to ebb and flow. And that's why it's really important for your audience to, and I know you embrace this, Matt, and I'm assuming Lizette as well, to become accomplished in a lot of different disciplines. So a protective device for me would be if acting slows down, then I'm writing something or producing something, or getting a director's gig or something like that. So
do you coach too, Patrick? Do you do acting coaching? I know before you might have done that. Do you still coach every now and then?
I did a lot of that, and mentoring people and being paid quite well for it. But I kind of, with the advent of COVID, screenwriting and producing became so encompassing that I set that aside for a while. That brings up a whole other thing. You know, and this isn't the lady doth protest too much, but the whole experience of teaching actors has become so, we found it, never had a problem, but we found it so monumentally impacted by the Me Too movement that we all want the monsters to go away, like Harvey Weinstein, and that kind of energy to go away. But people don't even realize you can't even get insurance for an acting class now.
Wow.
And we literally, and it wasn't just sexual. It was the bar became whatever made people uncomfortable. So,
wow.
Whether that's racial or the study of acting and entertainment, because we taught acting, writing, directing, and producing as a complementary disciplines. That embodies loss, it embodies war, it embodies eroticism, lack of eroticism, oppression of eroticism, your parents getting killed in a scene, redemption, all different kinds of things is what the study, whether it's Shakespeare or the most contemporary of traumas. But when you literally have to get reams and reams of disclaimers and get people to watch videos on sexual harassment and can't even get insurance because they paid out so many claims to the Me Too movement, so that, like, people don't realize the Actors Studio and Beverly Hills Playhouse can't even get insurance.
What? Wow.
They have to insure themselves because they cannot get insurance. All the insurers just went away. So
is that why?
My producing and script writing accelerated even more. I kind of was, even though I love teaching, was kind of happy to see it go by the wayside. Because it's just more trouble than it's worth. You know, if you're doing a scene about, what's this show with Jane Fonda? I don't know if it's still on. Jane Fonda and
Lily Tomlin. Is that the one with?
Lily Tomlin, and they're divorced ladies. And Jane Fonda's character is meeting a plumber. Right. There's some sexual tension that goes between them and uncomfortability. But if you get so that you can't even talk about something like that in an acting class, it's crazy.
Is that why you think?
Like you wonder, why are you going into acting if you're triggered by anything that has to do with the difficulties and challenges of life?
Is that why you think, Patrick, there's a lot of acting classes now and casting director sessions and auditions, self-taping and via Zoom? Is that why you think people don't want, to be back in the offices? Like, do you think that has anything to do with it? I mean, other than COVID, but I mean, we could have gone back, but we haven't yet,
I can tell you, I would never, ever have had any kind of actor interaction with anybody without multiple team members being there.
That makes sense.
Because you're inviting some, Sam Shepard said, they tilted the continent and all the crazy people rolled to Los Angeles. But you're actually talking about you have to be extremely careful to never have a solo interaction with any acting student, just as a protective device. Again, I never had a problem. We never had an issue, but we saw the bubbling energy underneath the thing, and you know, you don't want to spend your time in litigation, and you don't want to spend your time in countering accusations, because even we went through a period, I think it's tapered off, where just the accusation was enough to finish people's careers.
Wow.
And so it's just a side thing. I was not sad about letting teaching go, particularly since I think I'm still doing that as a director in film.
Right.
So, but that whole realm, there's unintended consequences for a lot of things. I mean, look, you know, I don't know. Again, I think common sense needs to reign, and a lot of common sense doesn't. People, in a lot of circumstances. Now, what? You have intimacy coaches for any love scene in films and things like that. Is this really necessary? Are we so immature? Are we so lacking in ladylike and gentlemanly behavior that we can't just conduct ourselves like adults and get the job done?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a few that ruined it for the rest of us, Patrick. So, yeah, unfortunately, we need babysitters now.
Yeah,
so,
babysitters on set. Crazy.
I mean, you know, look, people need to be protected. But having come out of low budget films as a stunt, doing my own stunts and stuff, a lot of that didn't take place because of budgetary constraints and things. So I took my own pads to the set. Whenever I had to do something, I know how to set it up so I'm not going to get injured.
I do that on stage too. Yeah, you always have to protect yourself, and I think that's the problem. We need to protect ourselves, and if anything happens, go to the main source. I was always told, if you have anything on set, go to the producer. You know, talk to the producer or talk to, well, directors sometimes may be busy or a second AD, but don't talk to other actors. Don't talk to, you know, anybody else. Just go straight to the source if there's some major issue. But you have to take care of yourself first. Isn't that what you experienced too, Patrick, on set?
I've had some incredibly funny experiences, most of which I covered in my memoir, and I've got a second volume of that coming out as soon as I get some time to polish it. It's already written, but you know, tales from the Me Too movement. I had, you know, I went to lunch with an actress who will remain nameless, so who doesn't remain nameless in my memoir. But we went to lunch to discuss this film I was doing and see if she wanted to be in it. And on the way out, it was a spring day, and so we went by a shop that was selling dresses right out in the street. They had pulled it, and so I said, "Would you like a dress?" I mean, I'd be honored to buy. They were like $75 or something like that. So the next thing I knew, she dropped her dress right in the middle of half the street in the shop. She's completely naked. And my first, you know, the shopkeepers were like appalled. And my first concern was, I was concerned about her sanity. And then I thought, maybe she's just like me, an actor going to costume fittings and is used to stripping down. But I don't know whether what she was doing. But I thought, what would it be like if I was in a street and I was trying clothes on and I dropped all of my clothes in the middle of the street? They'd have a SWAT team out. You know, but she proceeded to spend an hour disrobing repeatedly with nothing on to put the clothes. So, I mean, there's some really funny things that have occurred in the environment of Hollywood and its double standards and its weird little intricacies and little things. So I cover a lot of that in the book.
Where can we buy your book? Is it on Amazon, or where can we?
Well, the first volume is on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, and
cool.
And it's not to cause confusion. It's called Dying for Living too. It's not anything like the film.
Yeah, okay.
It's a memoir and has mostly to do with my upbringing and into Hollywood. And there's a big excerpt of volume 2 in it, but covers my writing career in New York and things like that. And it's on Barnes and Nobles. There's an audio version and Amazon and all of that. So people want to do that. If they want an autographed copy, they can just contact me at Uncommon Dialogue Films, who will ship them out an autographed copy. But because we did a lot of book tour stuff when it first came out. The second volume will be out as soon as I can find the time to polish it. And we just got hired to do another film adaptation of a book, so I'm in the midst of writing that script. So and we get hired not to just adapt the project, but to shepherd it into funding and to a streaming service or a studio or whatever, find that individual. So I'm pretty busy, but trying to enjoy it, and I am enjoying it. It's important to enjoy it. I'm kind of glad I'm married. I'm very glad I'm married, because the last 10 years have been a weird time. It must be very strange, people dating these days, right? It's I'm in a relationship too, and I'm glad, but it's like, and I know I'm engaged. So but we were talking about this the other day, my boyfriend and I. It's so hard dating these days, because you have to go through all these hoops and just, what you can and can't do on a date. Before it was just like, oh my God, he kissed me. Now he's like, oh my God, I think you have to be really careful for guys and girls. I think it goes kind of both ways. Well, I had an actor friend of mine say the other day, Patrick, you have no idea. If you don't call some people back, you're going to get charged with rape. It's just, so it must be a tenuous time, but we all have to find our sense of humor in it. So again, I think the solution is act like a gentleman and act like a lady. Absolutely. But, a lot of people don't do that, and they're motivated by whatever their psychosis is and everything else. So onward and upward. Yeah. I love my wife, and I'm glad I'm married. Yeah. And dating is still great, but you got to be careful nowadays. So don't give up on finding your soulmate. We don't want you to think that. No, don't do it. It's a horror story, but I'm doing some research on arsonists. And I mean, these people, you smile at one of these people, they come back and they burn your house down. Yeah. Just because they want to see you again. So it's like, it must be a terrifying place on some level for women on some fundamental level, but it's not just a female. There've been NFL people who've been stalked and killed, so it's just, scary times. You can't live by fear, but certainly you have to keep one eye cocked for the maniacs and the nutballs.
Absolutely. So we're talking with Patrick Kilpatrick. Dying for Living, Volume 1 is available right now at Barnes and Noble. Happens to be the same title of his film, writer, director, producer, actor, which is in close to post-production now. But you were able to put a trailer together, and it looks pretty badass. And if you don't mind, Patrick, we'd like to show that to our audience right now.
Sure, please do. I mean, I benefit. It's really funny me saying I direct the movie in a way, because I have a stunt coordinator who is a director as well. I have a line producer who is capable of directing the films, and I've been on low-budget films with him where he's taken over for the first-time director. I have a cinematographer who's he's a brilliant cinematographer and editor, and Stephen Coulson, and he's direct the film. And my producing partner is a producer and director too. So there's like 5 guys which has its particular things, because sometimes I've literally had to fight to get my voice heard because there's 5 guys capable of being captain of the ship on the movie.
Wow.
But it's also has great benefits because I don't have to do anything but just kind of tweak something or make sure some acting value takes place. Or it's very much a collaborative deal.
All right. Well, with that, let's check out the trailer for Patrick's upcoming film, Dying for Living.
I know what you're thinking. Things have been messy. I agree. I might have handled it better. Been more compassionate.
I don't wish to vacate.
One turn of the sun. Then I will kill your delightful twins, your hot son, and your still smoking wife. Wow.
Wow, that is, pardon my French, badass.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of kick-ass in it. But again, I benefit from, I've got a great cast, Costas Mandalore, and Higan Machado, who's 8-time world karate champion, is just fabulous in it.
Wow.
I love Higan. I love him. Yeah, what a great guy. I'm so you guys are. I love that you guys are together. Are you on? Are you on screen together? Are you in any scenes with Higan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm throughout the movie. We filmed the first 2 weeks of production, and a lot of that I didn't appear in a lot of it, but I did some of it. But we've added Nina Bergman, who's just an extraordinary beauty, action actress, really compelling. And you know, this way, one thing you kind of learn from doing all these things is what looks like calamity is actually something positive for the production. For example, I wrote a part that I wanted one of my wonderful sons to play. And he, in typical son fashion, said no. And so he's an architect and he didn't want to play, but I knew he would be brilliant in it. So I hired an actor who was immensely trained and was ready to do. Well, the moment we're supposed to film this particular actor, he got COVID.
Yeah.
And so I called my son and I said, please help your old man out. And so God in the universe delivered exactly the right person that I all along intended to play the part. And he did a superb job. And so the point of it is, what looks like calamity and a negative events is really has led invariably to what was good for the production. So we broke to raise some money for the finishing funds and reworked the script and added some elements that I'm really happy about, which we have yet to film. And we've got somebody coming to play my brother for a couple of days, who's a big name. And so it's been a real big learning process, and I'm really pleased with the results so far. Again, it wouldn't be there if I didn't have an extraordinary team doing all of it, right down from my wife, who's a co-screenwriter on it with me, to Stefan Colson, the DP, and Art Camacho, the stunt coordinator, and Raffaello, my producing partner, and Jacob Ressler, who's the line producer. All of these guys, it's really a collaborative thing, so much so. And a humbling experience, because you really learn a lot about leadership and working with great groups of people. And I'm just very, very grateful to them to, in the end, really make me look good in everything. The acting is a lark for me. It's try directing, producing, writing, and acting in a movie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I second that, Patrick. That's it. It's a, and I personally do recommend every actor try directing at least once. That's why we offer our director's course for Sherwood for those looking to get into it. Just to have that extra eye on the craft, it certainly helps inform that actor. And I've actually had actors take the director's course, try directing, absolutely hate it, but be extremely grateful for the opportunity, because what happens is now they can go back to acting and go, yes, I had that right the first time. I'm not a director, I'm an actor. But as an actor now, from here on out, they're informed about that process, and they can actually maybe show a little more respect to their director, knowing what they're going through, the whole process, driving that bus.
You're absolutely correct. And I would go a little further and say, young actors who are lacking in insight, in my opinion, they'll say, why do I need to know this stuff? Well, the truth is, you're going to be a chemically better actor if you know these things. I mean, I would get hired as an actor because the director would know that I could improv my own good lines or polish the script. But chemically, your brain, something happens to your brain, and you become a better actor by knowing about writing and directing and producing. It just helps you to become a finer actor. And so they're so important. Not only the fact that it's going to provide you with economic and psychological sanctuary, because I don't care how busy you are as an actor, sooner or later you're going to go down, and there's not going to be a lot for you at that particular time. I mean, you talk about political things. I talk to agents and casting people and stuff. I mean, you can't even get out now unless you're LGBTQ plus, of color, and that kind of thing. So what does that mean? I think that'll balance itself out after a while. But the bottom line is, you should be writing and producing and doing your own content in some form during this time, because you're always in the spot that the universe wants you to be in, and there's something to learn. Look, I just went through a year of almost straight finance stuff. Straight finance. It's not my preferred thing to do, but I actually became enthralled by the process of it, and the looking at it, and the distribution, and how distribution functions, and sometimes retrograde in a retrograde manner, lacking in vision, but it how it works, what motivates those guys, how films become profitable, how other films get made but don't make any money for anybody. So it's all part of evolution and learning.
I've always told other actors, try other things. Like, I've done hand modeling before. I do hosting, voiceover. It's just, you just don't know what you might find your niche in, other than what you want to do. And like you said too, if you don't like it, you'll be like, no, I'm an actor. I knew it. It'll test your abilities too. There was one time I was working with the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater in New York City, and the director was amazing. And I said, you're so great. Like, how do you? And he says, well, I took an acting class, so I knew how to get in the mind of an actor. And I'm like, oh, see. And I'm like,
it's called a hand model. That sounds like an interesting thing. Right there, that my mind goes, okay, I'm going to write a movie about a guy who's obsessed with a hand model. So that in itself is an intriguing thing to have done. And Montgomery Clift, when he was in a car crash, he developed a whole school of acting with his hands. And another guy who's done that is Robert Duvall. If you watch Robert Duvall, the way he uses his hands within the frame is always very compelling.
Oh my gosh.
So that may be something that's really vital to know.
Yeah. We were on set and we were talking about how great, like, it's such a, when I used to do it I used to work for so many toy companies and everything, but we would always talk about it's a whole new world. Hand modeling, they take it just as seriously as any other part of the entertainment business. But no one really focuses on that. So yeah, Patrick, go ahead and do that next project.
Oh, yeah.
Put that in. In fact, that's a good thing. I will suck up things from lots of different sources. It's like I went down to the lobby today and writing about this plane crash, and there were some people playing with their dogs. I thought, pet, that's a whole area of people. Some people don't want pets on airplanes, and some people love the fact that they can take that's a whole other area of conflict and drama.
Yeah.
Somebody just having a pet on a plane.
Yeah.
That's going down. So there you go.
That's
I once dated a woman who was a fitting model.
Oh, it's something else.
And that was a really interesting experience because she was all the fashion people in New York. She would go from shop to shop to shop, and she had the perfect measurements for the fittings, for the patterns.
Yep. And then there's foot models too, but that's a whole different. It's more of a fetish. I know, I'm kidding.
Well, it brings up the whole thing with Quentin Tarantino's. I was just watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again.
Love that movie.
And he even manages to make Margot Robbie's feet look disgusting. And it's like, what is with that, Quentin? I mean, it's just like wonderful film, but what is the thing with the dirty feet?
Hey,
I don't know.
Quentin can do whatever he wants. He earned it. But definitely interesting to dissect there. Hey, Patrick, I really appreciate the conversation today. We really got into a lot of stuff today. Really attacking the industry from so many different angles, but all with the same mindset of courage and just calm and drive and tenacity and all those things that we all need when we go through our journey, our personal journey. And it's just been a pleasure today having you on the show, Patrick. This film, we're excited for it coming out. We're excited to read your book and the follow-up when you get a chance to write the volume 2, but it's called Dying for Living. And we want people to check you out. We know they can go to your governor page is still active, correct? So they can still go and check out. It's kilpatrickforgovernor.com. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite proud of the platform we put together. And I think people would be surprised at how lack of vision is being applied to our challenges in the state. For example, just really quickly, I know we've got to wind it up, but here we are in a continual drought. Why, I don't know. I think because even with all this rain, we're not particularly adept at collecting rainwater in this state. But we have 3 desalination plants, none of which are operating. Why? What's up with that? Anyway, kilpatrickforgovernor.com, they can take a look at the platform there. And if they want a book, they should probably contact me through Uncommon Dialogue Films. My personal website is under some renewal and construction because we switched from one hosting thing to another. And there used to be a thing where they could order an autographed copy of the book through patrickkilpatrick.com. But if they just contact me through Uncommon Dialogue Films, we'll make that happen.
Excellent.
And when does the film come out again, Patrick? When is the film released?
As soon as I can finish it.
Okay.
Bottom line is we have to raise X amount of dollars to finish it. And that has involved a lot.
Yeah.
And some of it has to do with this mystery distribution person who would come in and play my brother, which immediately catapults the rights values and the other thing. But one of the things I've learned from watching, attending AFM and watching the panels there is that's a huge problem for independent films. There's only so many of these people, male and female, that actually can elevate the international distribution of a film. And they're all busy, and they don't have a lot of time slots in their schedule for independent films, even if you're talking about a significant payday. So that's an ongoing challenge. Right now, that's probably the biggest challenge that I'm facing with Nine for Living. I want somebody. I've got good quality people to play the part, but unfortunately, in the very subjective view of distributors, those people don't move the needle far enough.
Right.
And, so this is why I say the whole experience is extremely a learning process and a learning curve. And again, it's subjective, it's retrograde, the international market, though, is so important that you really want to make sure that nobody wants to make a great film and have it sit there. It has to be profitable, and it has to become seen by everybody, as many people as you widely can get it out there. So
absolutely.
There you go.
Very good. Thank you again, Patrick,
for
being with us today.
You're awesome, Patrick. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. And Matt, thank you very much for doing what you do. And I'll talk to you in the days ahead.
You got it. All right, Patrick.
Bye, Patrick.
Cheers.
All right. Cheers. Bye. Wow, there you have it, huh, Matt?
What a great conversation. I was thinking all the different elements that we covered during that phone call. And thanks, Lizette, for bringing him on the phone, because we did have some technical issues and we got through them as usual. One of these weeks, I think I want to have a show where there's zero technical problems at all. We were so close. We were so close to it the other day. But this one, I think I'm very happy with the conversation. What were your thoughts?
Oh my God, I've actually learned so much from him. I mean, and I value everybody's opinion, and he's he's an actor. He knows what the deal is, and to hear his thoughts on certain things that are being done in Hollywood really opened my eyes to, like, okay, we're, obviously different areas in our career, and he's been around for way longer and he gets it. And I just learned from his thoughts, his opinions on things. And he was right about a lot of stuff. I mean, I get it. And it's good to hear someone else's take on it who's got a lot of success in the business. So I appreciate what he has to say. You know?
And the big takeaway for me was the calm,
Mm-hmm,
because with all of the undertakings, with all of the, attack it from all angles and don't be afraid and go for it and don't worry about what people are going to say and just have tough skin. All of that, with all of that said, don't forget your state of mind. Don't forget your own mental health, your own wellness. And the way you do that is you have to just come from a starting place of calm and stay there.
I agree with you too. And I love how he said two other things: to solution and don't be negative, about it. Like you said, have your thoughts, say what you want to say, but or being open-minded, I guess, is pretty much what he was also saying too, that you might get, stuff coming in, but don't focus on the negative of it. Just say what you have to say and then put it out there. And, you're going to get some feedback, good or bad, but you got to, deal. And I love how he said, let's find a solution. Let's stop going one way or the other. Let's just find why this or that. Why can't we just meet in the middle? Solution. No one's, like you said too, no one's going to be fully happy either way, but we can still come to a solution.
I have to say this, and maybe it was for the best that we ended the conversation, because I'm not going to be as positive when I say that. My suspicion is this, and this is why we're making this documentary for Sherwood. My suspicion is that by design, they don't want to solve these problems.
True.
By design, it's not an accident. I think the greatest, this is my personal opinion, but I think the greatest achievement that all of our elected politicians have accomplished, the greatest achievement they've accomplished, is they've made us believe that one side and the other side are in their little corners like a boxing match, and they're getting ready for the next round, and we're just rooting for our guy. And that's an act. They don't want there to be a victor. They don't want there to be a let's hug it out and let's compromise. They want to keep the facade that one side's battling the other side. And if anything, if we critique that, they want our critique to stop at, oh man, those guys are so incompetent. They like that critique. We call them incompetent. Oh man, they just need to work a little harder or try a little harder. Or we need to vote a little stronger, vote harder, get more of them in there because they're just not getting the job done. They like that. I think my hypothesis is that it's by design that they don't want to solve these problems. And if we realize that, maybe then we can stand up and hold them accountable for the votes we gave them, the money we gave them, that they're deliberately not doing their jobs. That's where I'm at. I think that's why we're making this film, because we want to ask questions about some of this, some of the happenings over the last few years, and why we're in this endless war right now in Ukraine, and why we've allowed, you know, the billions of dollars Big Pharma has made off of us over these last few years over the COVID policies, and why we're so divided. And I do think it's by design. But hey, let's dive in, ask questions, and find out. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well,
but
I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, because you're right. If you have a celebrity match or a boxing match, right, and you have one guy here and then one guy here, there would be no fight if if they're not opposing each other, you know. So you got to have that. And the media loves drama. Let's be honest, they love drama. Why is reality so fun and good to watch? Because there's that little conflict, that drama that we all want to see what happens next. So we all live off of that, but we can't make it our lives completely. We can't, you know, we have to. You got to stand up for what you believe in 100%. You know, it's just, I'm one personally not to talk about politics or religion. I've always been told those are the two things you don't want to talk about to piss people off, you know, but especially with everything going in Hollywood right now with the politics of your nationality, what you should be called, what you can't be called. I mean, personally, I think we discussed this before, Matt, Latinx and stuff like that. I'm a Latino woman, you know, I'm Puerto Rican, but I'm also quarter French and stuff. And now you put me in another bubble, which I'm all for. I'm rolling with the punches, but I didn't know I was a new, you know, a new label now. I didn't know that. And now I have to call myself that. And I'm like, okay, before I enjoyed being called a Latina actress, and now we're Latinx. So I'm like, okay, things change. And I'm the type of person who can, assimilate and, you know, go with the flow. But sometimes I question things too. I'm like, why do we keep changing things? Why do we keep, you know?
I think it's important that you question it. And Lizette, we do go with the flow when we generally do want to go with the flow, but there are those moments where we have to stop and say, does this feel right? This feels a little off. And kind of maybe question that. And what's happening in Hollywood right now, I call it tribalism. I call it, hey, you're either in the club or you're out of the club. And to be in the club, there's certain things that we need to do to check some boxes to be accepted. And those boxes are, you know, your profile has to have the, I got my booster, we can do this, has to have to be around your little profile. Your banner of your social has to be a Ukrainian flag. You have to make sure that it says your pronouns in your description. These are boxes we have to check to be in the club.
Yeah. And I've always hated those boxes, Matt. I don't know about you, but I've always hated those boxes. What are you? Latin, Hispanic, Asian? And I always want to put other just to piss people off. I don't have a definition. You know, I am who I am. Just focus on that. But yes, continue.
How do we find our individuality again when we're in this era, this time of having to join a club? You're either in Team Blue or you're in Team Trump. You're either in Team you know, follow the rules, or you're in Team crazy anti, you know, science, or you're a Putinist, or you're all these horrible things. They tell you you're going to be this if you don't do that.
You don't do that.
So they put us in and so how do we as artists and actors and producers and we're trying to build our careers, and we have to walk into audition rooms and we have to give them the code word at the door. I know I have to do. I had an audition the other day where I have to I got the call back, and I'm in a Zoom with the producer, director, writer, executive producer. They're all there, and everyone's introducing themselves, and they go around the room, and everyone is telling me their pronouns. And I don't believe there was any trans in the room at all. I believe there was a guy, he, him, a girl was a she, her, or you know. And they went through everyone, and it got to me, and I said, "Hi, I'm Matt Weinglass."
Yeah.
And that's I said, and I think I might have pissed them off because I didn't tell them I'm in the club with you, even though there was nobody in the room to do it for. It wasn't about being supportive of the trans community. It had nothing to do with that. And I'm realizing that now, that saying you're that in a room with all, hims and hers, and nobody who's made any transition. Nobody. We're sitting there. It's virtue signaling. It's called virtue signaling, saying I am going to say the right thing to be in the club.
Yeah.
So it's not actually doing anything for any particular group. It's saying, are you in or are you out? And I think by me only saying my name, I'm Matt Weinglass, and ending the sentence there, I basically signaled to them that I'm not in the club. And, lo and behold, I did not get the role for some reason.
Isn't that crazy? Because I've been going through that a lot lately too, where I feel like I'm not addressing the person correctly or something. And I feel like I've shot myself in the foot a few times myself. And I'm like, oh man, was I not supposed to? Oh my God, was that? And it's so hard for an actor, because now you have to watch the things you say at an audition, like your experience too. And you didn't say anything wrong. You just didn't say the right thing. And we go through that enough already when we're doing our sides and we're learning our lines. And like, I love what Patrick said. When you go to set, you're so busy, you should be manifesting what you're there to do, the work, put the work into the acting and all the stuff that you're there to do. But then we deal with all these other political things on set that it kind of makes you feel like, am I doing something wrong? What am I got to do this, but I just want to focus on my work, the work as an actor. And you have to deal with all these other things, but you have to do them. If you said, like you said, you want to stay working or in the club, I guess you can say.
Stay in the club.
I guess it's the new way of life now. And
you're either, or as Robert De Niro says in Meet the Parents, you're either in the, here's the circle, Greg. You're either in it or you're outside it. So you want to be in the circle?
Yeah. You want to work?
Then exactly. You want to work? Yeah.
Bye-bye. Go write your own book or something.
Exactly. Make your own movie. And that's which is what we need to do anyway. So we are doing it ourselves. We are becoming proactive. We are speaking our minds. We're calling out the bullshit. And I love that we're able to do that in this group. And I love that, honestly, Lizette, I'm so happy that we've been able to come out of the 3 years of the COVID stuff and the lockdowns and all the different stuff about, hey, don't stay home, stay isolated, don't engage with each other. And we found a way to come together. We figured it out over this last couple of years. And I'm just really so happy we've had that opportunity to get creative, figure out ways to make things feel right and feel like we're progressing and moving forward, and not just stuck at home in place doing nothing.
Yeah. And like I said too, with the SAG Awards that happened this past Sunday, it's like, it's so good. I mean, I know we label ourselves as Asian, Hispanic, whatever, but it was so nice to see an actor win who was good, Michelle Yeoh, I believe, from the Everything All at Once.
Incredible film, by the way, an incredible performance.
Incredible performance. She's been in so many other movies too that well deserved for her. But again, it wasn't just her ethnicity, but good for her for being the first Asian woman to do that, accomplish that. Good for her, because everyone needs to make an impact in this world and have history. But the fact that she's just a good actor, period, regardless of her nationality, makes it, to me personally, proud of that moment for her, and that's what it should be. So
I love it. And you know what, Lizette, on that note, we can wrap this episode up, because I want to say this to people watching live or watching on the replay. Next Tuesday on the next Sherwood Shakeup, we're going to have our Oscar special, because it's going to be the Tuesday before the big Oscar event. And I think it's a great opportunity. We have some fun stuff planned for you guys. It's going to be really fun. Me and Lizette are going to get into some of the stuff, some of the who's up for what category. I want to talk directly to the actors and filmmakers in our community and let them know what the world of Oscars is looking like now. And because this ultimately is our goal, or we always were taught that when we dove into this industry, that was the ultimate prize, was getting on that stage. So let's talk about next week. We'll talk about what that stage looks like and all the components, and let's have a dialogue about it.
And we should have a little competition with each other, Matt, to see who we think is going to win.
Ooh, I like that. I like the Oscar game. I haven't done that.
I'm good at that. I'm really good at the Oscar.
Really?
Game. So, okay. I've been, not to pat myself on the back.
Okay. We'll play a little Oscar game. we'll play the Oscar game, and then we'll obviously we'll have the results after the Oscars, and then on the following week we'll come back and see who won on the following show. But I think that, yeah. Oh,
Matt, one quick question. I forgot to tell you too. Welcome back, because we have to talk about eventually too your trip to DC. I know that was a whole new experience, so I guess we'll save that for the next show. But welcome back from it. That's amazing that you even did that. You know.
Thank you, Lizette, and we were able to get so many great stuff there. I opened the show today before you came on. I talked a little bit about what we were doing, and even last week, if you want to go back and see last week's episode, we played a little teaser of the trip and things that we were able to accomplish. But I'll just say, since you're here right now, so just off the top of my head, some of the highlights, we had interviews with Ron Paul, Jill Stein, Dennis Kucinich, if you remember him. He used to these were all presidential candidates, all three of them at one point, who are independent minded and who are at this peaceful protest, this anti-war protest. So I got to talk directly to all three of them, plus some other up and comers. A good friend of ours, Jimmy Dore, who's been a big anti-war activist and union organizer as well, and some of these other big voices right now in the independent circuit. Kim Iverson, Jackson Hinkle. We even talked to the original Tara Reid, who not the Tara Reid in our film group, but not American Pie Tara Reid, the other Tara Reid. Actually, we had a great discussion with her. She was the one who was who had been sexually assaulted by Joe Biden back in the 90s.
I remember that.
Her voice was not heard, and we didn't get into this with Patrick, but it's so interesting about the Me Too movement, because like any good movement starts out with a good, strong message and a purpose, and it makes sense. And I see it every time. Anytime you get a movement going, there's always a organization, or like the establishment finds a way to hijack the movement. And we see it every time. We just saw it with Black Lives Matter. We say something that starts off with a pure, real message of fighting power, speaking truth to power. That these movements all have that in their heart, and then they get hijacked. And Tara Reid was one of those that you saw. I saw it in real time. It was. You remember this, Lizette? Believe All Women. You remember that?
I feel like I do.
So that was the offshoot of it. Was hashtag Me Too and hashtag Believe All Women.
Believe All Women. That's a great.
It was Believe All Women until it was going to be politically not useful for you. So as soon as Joe Biden got accused and Tara Reid was making the accusation, then it was don't believe all women, because that's going to affect us politically.
Right.
Anyways, so
it's big intake. Yeah.
The whole concept went down the drain, because now you're going to cherry pick which stories you want to hear for your personal political gain. Now that goes against the entire concept of Believe All Women and Me Too.
Yeah. That's always something, right? And we got to be really careful what we say these days too. But we also, like Patrick says, be careful, or not be careful, but say what you have to say, but don't focus on the negative. I love how he said that. The way he worded it was better than the way I just worded it.
It was, and I'll just say one more thing before we wrap it up about last weekend's event. Is at the end of the day, yes, of course, there's people there that you can say, oh, this person shouldn't be there, or why are you talking to that person? And oh, didn't this person do that? And didn't that person do that? Whatever, man. We were at an anti-war rally, a peace protest against war, and anyone who was there for that reason, and that alone should be enough to just celebrate that and engage with that. And it's what we did, and it's what we got on camera. And I'm so excited about that footage, and I'm so excited to move forward with the documentary. And we're going to have more updates on this project with you guys in the weeks to come. So we're so excited about the people getting involved with this and giving us major momentum moving forward as we started things off last weekend. So yes.
Awesome. And Patrick was such a good guest. Thanks again, Patrick. Patrick, you're amazing.
Patrick was awesome. He kind of connected the dots for us on all of these all these issues that you, Lizette, and myself, we've talked about these things, and we're trying to figure out how everything makes sense here in our industry in Hollywood. And it was incredible. So
it's a learning experience together, right, Max?
Yeah.
So we just have to keep doing what we do.
Exactly. Okay, well, why don't we sign off together this time?
Yes.
Sound
All
good?
right.
Okay.
Sounds good. Take it away,
Great.
Matt.
Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Oh, go ahead. You start.
No,
You go.
No, you start. You start.
Okay, I'll start. I'll pass it to you for the final sign off. Okay. Thanks for joining us today on the Sherwood Shakeup. I'm Matt Weinglass.
I'm Lizette Santiago, and guess what? We'll see you on the next episode.
Take care, guys. Sherwood Players, character driven.
Always.